It's Landline Now, followed by Steve Summers' Overnight Drive every night on TNCRadio.live starting at 11 p.m. Eastern and 10 p.m. Central.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station. Good evening. Welcome to TNCRadio.live. It's Wednesday night. That means it's time for Tail Lights with Larry and Angie Baum. I'm going to choke through this. Happy to have you with us here on a Wednesday night. Angie, how are you tonight?
We're doing good. Sounds like better than you.
Well, let's see. Where are y'all tonight?
We're actually at home for the first time in almost 3 months. So
Wow. Yeah. I thought home was the road.
pretty much, yeah. We're actually in the process of selling our house now. So we're pretty much just trying to get stuff out of it.
Yeah, great time to sell a house.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad to have you all in here with us tonight. And who's your guest tonight?
Tonight we've got our friend John with us, and he is a truck driver, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his life over the road.
Fantastic. Well, Larry, I got 2 questions for you before we get started tonight.
I'll be right back.
Number
Go ahead. What's your question?
Number 1, how about them Astros? Woo, baby.
Oh, yes. Congratulations. Yeah, that was amazing. Yes.
What a
great.
fun World Series. I mean, I've heard so many people say they're not even baseball fans and absolutely loved this World Series.
It was a very, very good one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially if you're a Houston fan, live down here in Houston. We've been, I think we had more people at the parade than actually voted in the election yesterday, so it was pretty good. But my other question, Larry, is what the hell happened to you?
I've been saying that my whole life, but
Yeah, well,
last week it was a disaster.
yeah,
Again.
It was definitely my worst week yet.
Yes, it was.
From the 1,000s, the top 1,000s, to now I'm almost at 5,000.
Yeah, you did drop, but remember, they eliminate the lowest score, and so last week's has already been scratched off the books.
Yeah, for us, just us, right? Not
No, for the thing we're doing. But but the bad news is apparently other people's lowest scores wasn't as low as yours. So you got 4 right. I got 3 right. And Banks got, 4 right. Those were the worst weeks by all 3 of us. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that was the 3 scratches in 1 week.
Wow.
All 3 of us got our scratch.
Yeah. It was the lowest scores for all 3 of us. Horrible. So, I mean, and so many of these games were, they just didn't cover. Some of them were surprises.
That was the biggest thing.
Yeah. A lot of times, like Kansas City and others won the game just as we expected they would. They just didn't cover the spread.
Or missed it by a half a point. I think it was one game where it was a half a point we lost it by.
Yeah. And then you had the big surprises that were out there. People like Houston and Philadelphia, 14-14 at the half.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Now, I had a lot of fun that day because I would tell everybody, and the day before that too, I'd say, I know for a fact Houston's going to lose to Philadelphia tomorrow. And people would, really? Why would you say that? I said, I'm talking about football, not baseball. Oh, yeah, you got me. Oh, yeah. So, I had some fun
that
with
shocked me that you did not pick Houston. I thought for sure you were going to have that one right.
Philadelphia was my preseason pick.
Right.
So, yeah.
But I think the spread was like almost 14 points. It was 13.
It was 13 and a half, and it was 13 points. The game was 13 points. So, I mean, like I said, there was one of many games that I missed where the team I thought would win, but I didn't cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost picked Houston in that game. It was pretty hard to give up 14 points.
Yeah, but against Philadelphia, it was the worst football team versus the best. If that's not a 13.5-point spread, I don't know what is.
I think the other shocker for me was the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, there were several shockers out there. Kansas City almost losing that game, but not covering. That was a shocker.
That was a good game. That game I watched.
Yeah, that was a good game. Let's see. How did the Raiders do?
They did great the first half. They were up 17-0 again.
Yeah.
There's no way that the Raiders could lose two games in one season being up 17-0.
Not a chance.
But
not a
the
chance.
Raiders can do it. They're awesome.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah, only like the Raiders. All right. Well, hey, we needed to start with a little football talk. Usually we would talk football on Sunday nights, but we've wrapped up the House of the Driver for now. Still waiting to get an idea as to when House of the Dragon Season 2 will start, but it looks like it may be a year yet before we even know that answer.
24?
Yeah, probably going to be early 24.
Wow.
But we'll get the show going. We'll get a show going again then. I wanted to talk a little football because we promised our listeners on that show that we would. So we did that. So Angie, I'm going to turn it back over to you and let you take it from here.
All right, sounds good. So John, welcome to the show. I was going to give you a few minutes just to kind of introduce yourself to everybody, tell them a little bit about you and maybe how you got into the trucking industry.
Sure. My name is John. I'm Canadian. Just don't hold that against me. I got into trucking, the heck was it? Around 97, 98. And I started at the Big Orange Company, Schneider National, driving the old cab overs, the pumpkins.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that's going back. That's where you climbed over the engine to get into the bunk.
Yeah.
And
the doghouse.
They shut down the yard up in Canada. They're not. Schneider doesn't have a presence in Canada anymore. They closed it down this year. Yeah, I think it was
I
in
had heard
March
something about
April.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of drivers lost their jobs. So, but yeah, I started there, and then I did some local work for a bit. And then I went to a company called Girth Transport that got bought out. I don't even think I was there 6 months, and they got bought out by Celadon. You remember that company?
Oh, yeah.
We used to call it Celahell. But I was there for almost 12 years. I started in 2000, and I left in 2012. And that was an experience. I did a lot of stuff with them. Lots of auto parts from Toronto, like the Toronto area, a little bit above there, down to like Brownsville, Texas, Eagle Pass, Laredo, El Paso, all the border states. Used to do a lot of Otay Mesa too. And now I'm just doing LTL for a local company running out west. Right now I'm in Texas. And yeah, that's about it. The only thing I have not done is liquid bulk. I've done pretty much everything else.
Now, what, in your opinion, because I know you're constantly going back and forth on the border, who do you seem to have? Like for us, whenever we crossed the border, it was like we had a hard time getting through the United States Border Patrol. What do you find? Is it harder United States or Canadian side?
It's the CBP, the U.S. side.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those guys tried to be cops. They failed the psych eval, so they became customs. And they got a gun
That's
in the
what
back.
we said.
Yep. That's exactly what we said.
I had one time, this is going back, because way back in the day, before PARs and PAPs and all that stuff, you had to physically go into customs with your paperwork. You'd go to the brokers. They had them all down the hall. And at Port Huron, you had to take an elevator, go down this long hallway, and cross what I called 5 lanes of death to get to more brokers. Because you'd be walking down the hall, and they had a glass door, and you wouldn't see a single car till you got to that door. Then it was like they're trying to see who can hit you first.
Oh,
And
my God.
the brokers would give you your paperwork back. You'd go to customs, you put them in the basket, and you'd sit in a seat. U.S. Customs uses red ink, while this one guy filled out all his paperwork in red ink. And I'm standing next to him, and the customs guy turns to him and goes, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Mine." He's like, "Why is it in red? There's only two people that can use red, us and God." I took about 2 steps back, and the guy looked at me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm waiting for the lightning bolt, man." Like, that's just the attitude they have.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Every time.
So, customs is a whole other ball. It's no man's land. You yes sir, no sir, whatever you want, sir, because you have no rights there. You think you do, but you don't.
No, you really don't. And they make it scary. It's like, even if you've done absolutely nothing wrong, your paperwork is in order, they make it a scary process. How often
I've had a fast card. My fast card. I'm sorry?
Now, what is a fast card? Can you hear me?
It was something they brought out after 9/11. So, yeah. The fast card is something they brought out. It's free and secure trade, I think it stands for, or free and secure trade. And it came out after 9/11, because the border after 9/11 was a zoo. It would take me 5, 6, 7 hours across the border sometimes. Sometimes it was even longer. I just pulled over, went to sleep, did my 8-hour break, got up and crossed. And then they brought out this card that was supposed to speed everything up. And it works great for the auto industry, but everybody else, get in line.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Well, we're going to take just a real quick break here, John. And when we come back, we're going to talk to you about an incident you had at Tinker Air Force Base where you got stuck in the mud. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to Tail Lights with the Baums.
This blog is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 4 simple ways to improve your physical health as a truck driver. Being a truck driver is a rewarding career. However, it's not very rewarding for your physical health. A truck driver's lifestyle makes it difficult for them to be healthy. Because of their lifestyle, truckers are more likely to develop serious health issues like obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and more. Although a truck driver's lifestyle doesn't promote healthy living, it doesn't mean that a truck driver cannot be healthy while on the road. There's several ways you can improve your health on the road. Here are 4 things you can start doing today to improve your physical health on the road as a truck driver. Avoid harmful foods. Avoiding unhealthy foods is way harder than it sounds. As a truck driver, your healthy food choices are extremely limited. While it may seem impossible to completely cut out unhealthy foods from your diet, it might be a good idea to cut back. You can start cutting back on unhealthy foods by packing meals in your truck. That way, the next time you get hungry on the road, you can eat a much healthier meal instead of eating greasy, high-calorie fast food. Another way you can start cutting back on unhealthy foods is to make a list of unhealthy items you eat every day and start slowly replacing them with a healthier option. For example, if you drink soda 3 times a day, cut back to 2, then to 1, and then none. Stock up on healthy foods. To live a healthier lifestyle, you have to cut back on heavily processed foods. Unfortunately, a truck driver's diet heavily consists of processed foods. Stocking up on healthy groceries is one of the best ways you can improve your physical health. When grocery shopping before your trip, avoid frozen pre-made meals, sodas, fried foods, chips. Instead, look for whole grain, fruits, veggies, and healthy fats. Start exercising. Exercise is essential to a driver's overall physical and mental health. Truck drivers have to get creative to stay fit while on the road. Finding the time to exercise can be a challenge for truck drivers. Drivers spend up to 11 hours a day on the road. After working all day, exercising may seem like the last thing you want to do, but you'll thank yourself later. Exercising a few times a week will not only improve your physical health, but also mental health. Get a good night's rest. The right amount of sleep is crucial for a truck driver. Lack of sleep can make driving dangerous. A study shows that long-haul truck drivers obtain less sleep than the required amount of alertness on the job. Truckers need a good night's sleep to be fully alert and ready to take on the road the next morning. Truck drivers travel several hundred miles each day. To reach their destination on time, they'll have to prioritize sleep so they can be alert and ready to take on the day. Not only is sleep an important factor for job performance, but it's also important for lowering stress levels and improving your immune system. Now here are some ways to promote better sleep. Turn off electronics an hour before bed. Invest in a good mattress and pillow. Put up curtains in your truck cab. Avoid caffeine before bed. And exercise. This
Hope Savara here. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live for my new show, The Driver Life Podcast. From your feet to the food you eat, from cellular health to how your cell phone affects your health, from how you move to improving your sleep. I believe it's the small, simple changes that lead to the big results in your life so that you can feel good again. We cover it all here on the Driver Life Podcast. Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live.
Hot Shots Secret presents Steve Summers' Overnight Drive nightly at midnight Eastern, 11 Central on tncradio.live or download the app .tncradio.live.
Welcome back in TNC Radio.live. This is Taillights with the Baums. I forgot when we were talking about football a little bit earlier. A very special treat for you, Angie, really, and I think Larry might enjoy this too. I had the opportunity this week to interview Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers and ask him how he felt about the game. Aaron, give us some input. How did you feel about the way things went? Okay. Oh, poor guy. Oh, yeah, I know. All right. Well, yeah.
Okay, you had my hopes up. Yeah. I really thought you interviewed him.
I did. That's the way it came out. So, all right, back to it.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
If he was Brady, that would have been amazing.
Oh, so John, you had mentioned that you had a story about a time that you got stuck into the mud at Tinker Air Force Base. So tell us a little bit about that.
Tinkerbell.
I had a delivery. They're building hangars for the KC-130s, and I brought in 10 of these giant industrial cyclones for I guess the air purification system. And the directions they gave me, I just went down the street and there was an address, and all I found was this brick wall and a road. So I was like, okay, I'll go down the road. I ended up lost in fog and everything else. Finally, some guy found me, dragged me over to where I had to be. And while they were offloading me, I hadn't noticed, but the ground was really, really muddy. And by the time I was done, I was up to my axles. It was just, I couldn't move. They had to get two of these giant, they're like the forklifts. I forget what they call them, but the boom extends way out. And these things were huge. They got two of them, one in front, one in the back, and they had to pull me all the way through this mud. I must have been there for about 3 hours. And when I finally got out of it, there was so much mud caked on my wheels. They looked like super singles, like super duper singles. And I had to go find a truck wash and get it all cleaned. And the first Blue Beacon I went to refused. They're like, no, you're not coming in here with that. And I was like, well, I got to go through your bay anyways. Like, I'm like, where do you want me to go? I can't back up. So the manager came along. He's like, okay, we'll take it. But don't show up like this again. And I'm like, yeah, I do this all the time. But that was an experience, that place. Because it was just sucked in with fog, couldn't see anything. But I could hear the planes. I just didn't know what was going on until the guy told me what they were for.
I was just trying to remember what base you got stuck on.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was an Air Force base. Yeah, they had to be.
Oh yeah.
It was set up for a 53-foot trailer, and there was cars all around. So as I was backing in, the way the concrete curved, I went off the concrete into the grass, just the passenger front wheel.
Oh, yeah.
But it rained so bad, and there was an embankment, and all the water settled right there at the edge of the concrete. And as soon as that wheel hit the
edge, right into it.
Yeah.
And tell him what had to pull us out, which was funny.
Oh, right up.
What is it? Ford F-150?
Yeah, Ford F-150 pulled us out.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cheaper than a service call.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have to ask you, one of the stories you had mentioned that you were going to talk about, and it's kind of piqued my curiosity, is the elephant on 35 South in San Antonio. I got to hear about this.
Yeah, I got to hear about the elephant.
Oh, yeah. This is going way back when I used to run Laredo's a lot. And one day, I'm driving down the interstate. I'd gone through San Antonio. I was heading for Laredo. And I started passing, it looked like a circus or one of those carnival things. It was a convoy of trucks with the carnival rides and everything else. And there must have been about 50, 60 of these things. And I'm driving. And I see this one big trailer. And I can tell that the side's open. Like there's no side to it. And as I get closer, I see something come out and go back in. I was like, what the heck was that? So I slowed down as I was getting up to it and got as far over to the left because I didn't want it hitting me. And as I got up to the opening, I look over and all I see is this giant black eye. And then I realized, holy crap, that's an elephant. And it starts waving its trunk at me. So I'm like, okay. So I wave back and it starts shaking its head. And I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here. So I took off, but that was my close encounter with an elephant on the interstate.
Okay, how cool is that?
That would be very cool.
I can say I have not seen an elephant on the interstate.
No, and I bet you not they have.
No, it was pretty cool to see. I was like, wow, that's kind of cool, but man, they are big.
And you get the chance to wash an elephant.
Yes, I did get to do that. That was pretty cool.
Oh, okay, that would be fun.
I have a question for you. Since you live in Canada, have you ever driven in the winter up on, was it the Coquihalla that they always show on ice road trekking?
Oh, all the no, I've never done any of the ice road trucking stuff, or I've been up in that area. Like I used to do. I used to haul cigarettes from Laredo, Texas, up to like Fort McMurray, or as we call it, Fort McMoney in Alberta. It's where the oil is. It's where all the money's made. And that's about as far as I've gone there. And I think the furthest north I've gone in BC is just the other side of British Columbia is Victoria, I think it was. I think it was Victoria. I can't remember now. It wasn't too far up in the BC. But yeah, my furthest north would be that Fort McMurray.
And Andrew was talking about, I'm not sure what highway it is, but it's out of Washington. It's up by Kamloops. Is where they filmed the show Highway Through Hell. The Coquihalla is where everybody wipes out in the snow.
Yeah, 401.
Yeah, that's
the 401.
That's the one that got. You go down the hill and there's one curve where they've got a post. And I've been told the reason that post is there is that if somebody goes over, they will hit that post and knock it, and that'll let people know if someone's gone over that. But I've only been there in the summertime. I never got the experience the wintertime. I only get that on Donner Pass.
Yeah. We almost went over that, but we got snowed in Kamloops, and they canceled our load.
Yes.
And you didn't miss anything, trust me.
Probably missed dying.
Now, I don't know what part of Canada you're in, but do you have to deal with a lot of different wildlife than, say, we would see in the United States?
Just deer, and if you go further north, you get moose and black bear, but that's about it. Like, mostly it's for us, deer, porcupine, skunks in my area. I'm in what's called Southern Ontario. I'm like 2 hours from Buffalo, 2 hours from Port Huron, and 3 hours from Detroit. So I'm not too far.
Have you ever done, we have a couple friends who have done like the car hauling, like from Detroit to Canada and back. Have you ever done car hauling?
I'm sorry, have I ever done what?
I said we have a couple friends who live in Canada, and they like tend to go to like Detroit and back to get cars. Have you ever done car hauling?
Oh, no. I had a buddy that used to do it, and he walks like a hunchback, and it's because he used to do car hauling. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you got to be a contortionist.
I guess yeah. And he does not walk right anymore because he did it for 20 years. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm never doing that.
So right now, are you flatbed or van?
On dry van. I'm doing the nice, easy dry van. Put it in the trailer, close the doors, I'm done. No tarps, no chains.
Larry always says...
My hat's off to those guys that like doing that stuff.
Yeah, we've never done it before. We're getting ready to do it in a Conestoga. So I keep telling him, I'm like, are you sure you really want to start tarping and doing all that? Or not tarping, but strapping and chaining at our age?
Well, all I know is do not stand over the bar when you're tightening straps unless you want to lose all your teeth.
Ooh,
stand to the side.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And he's talking about the bar they use to tighten the straps down because you have to put so much pressure on it that sometimes it tends to bounce back.
It'll be a nasty.
It'll wake you up and knock you out at the same time.
Absolutely.
Good morning. Good night.
No, my favorite's just doing dry van. It's simple. It's easy. There's no headaches. Most of the time.
We're going to take another break here in just a minute. When we come back, John, I don't even know how to start this story, but you can tell us about how the toilets set off the radiation detectors at the borders. So we'll be right back. You guys are listening to Taillights with the Baums.
Be sure to listen to Building Strong Minds with Dr. Chris, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on tncradio.live.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Tuminello, used to say, "A word to the wise," and we would all have to say in unison, "It's sufficient." Well, I have learned after 35 plus years of therapy, a word to the wise isn't always sufficient. In fact, sometimes we need to be encouraged. We need to be reminded. We need to get a second DUI. We need to have somebody walk out on us. We need our physician to say, "If you don't stop smoking next year, I'll be here for the physical, but you won't." Sometimes we need to have things repeated over and over until we finally get it. And sometimes it takes many words to the wise to be sufficient. And Mrs. Tuminello, God bless you wherever you might be at this time.
Truckers Life Radio from TFC Global with your host, Ron Frazier, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On the show, Ron interviews guests to help inform professional drivers just like you about the importance of things like human trafficking to sex addiction to how to overcome the impossible odds on the way to success. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
For the latest in traffic, weather, and information, catch the Morning Grind weekdays right here on tncradio.live. Welcome back, tncradio.live. This is Taillights with Larry and Angie Baum.
Well, welcome back, everybody. So right before the break, we were talking to John. And he was he had given me a little snippet of things we could talk about, and this one kind of piqued my interest. It said that the toilets were setting off the radiation detectors at the border. So tell us about that story.
Okay. Well, after 9/11, they did a bunch of security changes at the border. And one of the things they added, you've crossed, so you'll know, you'll see these yellow posts before you pull up to the booth. And there's like little white covered things inside them. Those are the radiation detectors. And for a while there, they were really super sensitive. So I had a load of toilets from American Standard going from, I think it was Kingston, Ontario, down to Columbus, Ohio. And I got to the border. Everything was fine. I pulled through. I set off my radiation detector and the two booths on either side of me. I set them off. So I got special treatment when I got to the booth. I got an escort. They brought up the Geiger counter. I was pulled off to the side while they went and pulled my whole load off the trailer, checked everything out, and then said, okay, there's nothing here. You can pay somebody to reload your trailer. And they were done. And I'm like, well, what? And it turns out anything made with certain types of earth and clay material is naturally radioactive. So bricks, kitty litter, toilets, all that stuff will set off the radiation detectors. But they've now, since then, they've fine-tuned them. They don't go off as much anymore. But yeah, that day I brought out, they had everybody out checking me. And I was like, hey, come on, guys, it's just toilets. But yeah, that was an experience. And I was like, okay, no more toilets. I'm not doing this again, because I was there for like 8 hours.
And then you had to pay somebody to reload the trailer?
Yeah, I had to call my company and say, hey, look, customs devanned it. Now we have to pay to have it reloaded. So I had to wait for a company to come out with their own forklift and everything else, and then put everything back on the trailer and load it, and then I could continue on down the road.
Wow,
that's how customs works. When you, if they want to see something, if you've got LTL, and let's say the thing they want to see is at the front of the trailer, and they can't get to it, you have to pay to have everything pulled off so they can look at that one piece.
Wow, I did not know that.
It's called DVAN. It's real fun. It's an experience.
And when we came back, I was glad.
The best was when I worked at. What's up?
Yeah, when we were our last time through Canada, we were supposed to go up there to get a load of the COVID vaccinations, but the weather got really bad and our load got canceled. So when we were coming through the United States border crossing, empty, they were like, well, why are you empty? And so we tried to explain to them, the load got canceled because the roads are covered in ice. Well, they didn't believe us, and they took us in there and, of course, separated us, took our dogs, went through a whole truck with a fine-tooth comb. I was never so scared in my whole life. They wanted to know how much cash we had on us, how much was in our bank accounts. I'm like, oh, my goodness.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's
I was
crazy.
like, I want to do Canada again.
Oh, yeah. You got the full treatment there.
We did. Okay, so the other story you had mentioned, and I'm curious on this one too. You said that you had a load that was not hazmat, but then it wound up requiring hazmat and a team to follow you.
This is going back actually it's my Schneider day, so this is like 1998. I picked up this stuff in Stratford, Ontario. It was going all the way up to Utah, but I was only taking it to a Schneider depot in Gary, where another guy was taking it the rest of the way to get them home. So it was called Orange Plastisol, and it's the stuff they use for the rubber gaskets on oil filters, but it was in its liquid form. And I picked up this load, and it was all in drums, and it was all secure. All I had to do was close the doors and put the seal on it. And I noticed when I closed the doors, I could smell it. But I figured, okay, I'm at the plant. It's probably from the plant, no big deal. So I closed the doors and off I drove. I get to the yard in Gary, and I'm going to put the landing gear down, and I see liquid. I'm like, what the heck is this? So I get my flashlight out, and I look, and it's orange, and it's this stuff. I'm like, oh, man, I'm leaking. So I drop the trailer, pull out from underneath it, and I go inside to the office, and I say, hey, I've got a leak. And they're like, is it hazmat? And I'm like, no, but it's got a WMS form, and there's some steps we got to take. Well, if it's not hazmat, we don't have to worry about it. I'm like, no, I got a phone number here that says if I have a leak, I got to call. And they didn't care, so I called the number. It turned out this stuff's borderline hazmat when it's in its liquid form. The minute it's hardened to be the gasket, it's fine. So they had to send a team. I had to show them what route I took to get to where I was. And they had to take a team to go along that whole route and clean up any spills that were on the highway. And I don't know how long that would have taken them, because that was all the way from Stratford, Ontario, Canada, down to Gary, Indiana, all along 94, 69, and that. I was like, wow, have fun with that. And they had to get my truck cleaned because the whole back of it was all covered in this stuff. It turned out somebody put the wrong lids on the barrels, and they all popped off as I was driving down the road.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The whole inside of the trailer was covered. It was a mess.
Oh, I can only imagine. Oh, my gosh.
So I learned my lesson that day. Whenever you smell the product, it means it's leaking. Don't hook to it. Just get them to fix it.
Oh, yeah, we talk about that all the time. It's like, if something doesn't feel right, don't pull off.
Well, I learned my lesson.
So you had also mentioned about a giant turtle that you thought was a spare tire on the road.
This was the same trip with the toilets. I delivered my load to American Standard in Columbus, and I'm driving back up to the guard shack, and I see something big and round in the road. I'm like, did somebody lose a spare tire? What is that? So as I got closer, I was like, what? I don't know what that is. I stop the truck, I get out, and I walk up, and it's this giant turtle. I had never seen anything this big in my life. It looked like a full-size spare tire. And it's just sitting there. I was like, well, dude, you got to move. I got to get out of the way. And he wouldn't do anything. So I went back, grabbed my gloves, and the security guard came out, and he's like, what the hell? I'm like, I don't know. There was a pond off to the one side. So I was like, well, I'll take it over there. I picked it up, and it was heavy, and I dragged it over to the pond and put it near the pond so it could go in the water. And I'd never seen anything that big for turtle-wise in my life. It was huge.
Wow. Thank God it wasn't a snapping turtle, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I grabbed the gloves. I figured, well, with the gloves on, maybe we'll be okay. But yeah, it was heavy, and it was a big turtle. I'd never seen that one that big before.
And I've never seen a snapping turtle before, and I tried saving one off the street.
Oh, you got to tell that story. That's funny.
I didn't know turtles moved that fast. Holy crap. Yeah, I was driving down a country road. It was next to a pond, and there was a turtle just sitting right in the middle of the street. So I pulled over, walked over to him, put my hand on either side of the thing, almost took off my finger. I never knew what a snapping turtle was, never heard of a snapping turtle. It's my first experience with a snapping turtle. It looks like a dragon. It was really cool. Once I finally got it off to the side, I was taking pictures of it.
So you did save it after all.
I did.
Even though you tried to take a finger off.
Yeah. But I pushed him with a stick out.
No good deed goes unpunished.
There you go. Oh. So what's the coolest thing you think in like all your years of driving that you've ever hauled?
Well, I worked for Conway for a little bit. XPO is what they're called now. And I used to run from Cambridge, Ontario down to Detroit and back. And I hauled a full load of restoration parts for an old Chevy pickup truck. Like I'm talking from the 30s. I guess somebody had sent the parts up to Canada to somebody to have them restored. And I had all the parts in my one trailer. And the one was the big bed, and it was all made out of wood. And it was painted white. The metal was painted white, and the wood was all nicely stained this beautiful blonde color. It was a really nice looking bed, and it had the Chevy emblem in the middle. And I knew I had the parts. I just didn't know what it was. And I guess the customs guy was interested in seeing this stuff, so he had to have a look at my load. So I had to split the set, because of course it's the front trailer, back that trailer in so he could have a look to see what this stuff was like. But I was kind of happy because I was like, oh, okay, hey, this is kind of cool to see. But that was probably the coolest stuff I'd ever seen.
Okay, that would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Whoever did the work was really good, because that bed alone was like, wow, that's beautiful. It was almost like a piece of art you could hang on the wall.
Oh, okay. I'm like imagining it in my head right now.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice.
Well, we're going to take another quick commercial break. And when we come back, John, we'll have you talk to us about you delivering a hot tub to a mansion outside of Oklahoma City. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to Taillights with the Baums.
Sounds like a hot story.
As a professional driver, the engineers at Front Lane know that you remain focused on the road regardless of weather and traffic conditions. That's not always true of the drivers behind you. Every 9 minutes, another commercial vehicle is rear-ended by a driver failing to control their speed. And guess who gets the blame? When you have to brake quickly, Tailbone illuminates a series of bright LED lights that allow the driver behind you to react up to 50% faster. Using amazing accelerometer technology and a battery that will last for years, Tailbone meets the standards set by the NHTSA and the FMCSA. Learn more by visiting www.frontlane.com/tailbone. That's www.frontlane.com/tailbone. Approved in all 50 states, it's Tailbone by Front Lane.
This blog is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. The dark side of the long-haul trucker lifestyle. A trucker's lifestyle can be a gloomy place at times. The long days, stressful work environments, and loneliness have major effects on a driver's life. The dark side of the long-haul trucker's lifestyle is often overlooked and not addressed. As a result, many drivers suffer from mental and physical health problems. Before entering the trucking industry, long-haul truck drivers need to be aware of the good and bad that comes with this lifestyle. It's difficult to stay healthy. Being in good health is a rare thing for long-haul truck drivers. Life on the road doesn't give drivers many opportunities to live a healthy lifestyle. When you spend the majority of your trucking career on the go, your food options are limited. Although taking an exit to get McDonald's may seem like an easy solution or the easiest option, eating fast food for every meal for weeks at a time can cause serious health issues. Obesity is one of the most common health issues in truckers. If you don't watch your diet and exercise, you could end up developing a serious health problem. Say goodbye to a regular sleep schedule. The trucking industry runs 24/7, 365, so having a regular sleep schedule is rare for long-haul drivers. The loading and unloading times are often never the same. At times, a driver will deliver a load at 2 a.m. one day and 1 p.m. the next day. In addition to the inconsistent load times, drivers can make multiple deliveries a day. This creates a lot of stress on the body and leaves the driver operating on a few hours of sleep. If you're struggling with getting enough sleep and staying awake on the road, check out our blog, 5 Easy Steps to Help Truckers Stay Awake While Driving. You'll feel lonely. It's not uncommon for long-haul truck drivers to feel lonely while on the road. Drivers have very little face-to-face interactions while working on the road. While this may seem like a good thing for some drivers, it can start to develop depressive symptoms. Depression is a common side effect of trucking. To help avoid feeling depressed on the road, talk to your friends and family on the phone at least once a day. As a long-haul truck driver, you can often feel like you're missing out on your loved one's life. Communicating with them daily will help you feel less lonely. It's hard on your relationships. Long-haul trucking can strain your relationship with your significant other. Being away from your loved one for weeks at a time is never easy. In addition to being apart, many drivers struggle with balancing their work life and personal life. Relationships already take a lot of work, but long-distance relationships take even more work. When you become a long-haul truck driver, it's important to be willing to put an extra effort into your relationship. Some quick tips to having a healthy relationship as a long-haul truck driver. Communicate daily. Spend as much time together as possible when you're not working. Consider therapy. Avoid arguments. Trust each other. Do you have the TNCRadio.live app? It's free and easy to download. Just go to app.tncradio.live, Google Play, or the App Store. Get access to live streaming radio developed by drivers for drivers. Download the TNCRadio.live app today.
Do you feel like you're facing more than just the physical road ahead of you? Are you wondering if there's more to life? Join Ron Fraser, the host of Truckers Life Radio, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, where he discusses the spiritual side of a driver's life. On the show, he goes through the spiritual and moral questions drivers face on a daily basis, helping you, the driver, as you travel life's highway.
All right, welcome back in TNC Radio.live. It's Wednesday night. We're live. Taillights with the Baums.
Welcome back, everybody. We were talking to John before the break. And John, you were going to tell us a story about delivering a hot tub to a mansion in Oklahoma City. Did we lose you?
Yeah, let's see. When was that? No, I'm still here. I think I'm still here. Yeah, I'm here. This was back 2 years ago. I had a hot tub. It was the last drop I had, and it was the whole width of the trailer and about 12 feet long. Like, it took 12 feet back into the trailer. So I've got directions to go past this one restaurant, and when I get there, to stop and call this number, and somebody will come out and show me the way. I was like, okay. So I get to this restaurant, I call the number, and the guy is like, okay, I'll be right out. And this guy shows up in a pickup, and he's like, follow me. So I start following. We're going down some roads, and I'm just like, I finally had to stop, hit the air horn, and go, hey, man, where are we going? This is a big truck. I can't go down here. He's like, well, I can't go on this road. He's like, this isn't a road. This is a driveway. I was like, excuse me? So it turned out to be this driveway. It was about 2 miles long. It took me out into the wilderness of Oklahoma, south of Oklahoma City, to this house. I've never seen anything as big as this house. And I used the whole driveway to spin around, to back it up, and they got all these guys to come out, and they pulled the thing out, put it on the back of the pickup truck, and took it off. And then I got to take a quick look around this mansion. It had to be, it was, I don't know, it was like a castle style thing. I'd never seen anything that big. And it was a really cool place. I never found out who owns it, though. Nobody knew.
I was just going to ask you if you knew who owned it. You read my mind.
Yeah, no, but the driveway I thought was a road. And it turned out, oh, no, this is their driveway. I was like, oh, okay. This is a road. To me, this is a road.
Oh, that's crazy.
But it was a big hot tub.
What was the story about you delivering airplane seats to LAX?
Oh, yeah. I had a Southwest, and I don't know why, but they got seats from Canada. So I had 2 seats to deliver into LAX. And the address and directions to the place were not exactly the greatest, considering there was construction going on. And where I was supposed to go, I couldn't get to it because of the construction. So I grabbed some security guy, and I told him where I was going. He's like, oh, yeah, you got to go this way, this way, and this way. And I looked at him. I'm pointed to my truck. I'm like, can I get that in there? And he looks at my truck. He's like, oh, yeah, there's tons of room. Yeah, I don't know what he was smoking that day, but there's no way. I got in there, and then I was trying to figure out, how am I getting out of here? I ended up having to back part of my way out until I got to a spot where I could spin it around. But I was trying to avoid cars, and nobody wants to give you a break. Everybody's trying to get around you. And I'm like, I'm looking at them going, you see the four-ways, and you see me backing up. What are you doing? But, yeah, it was a real tight time. But I was, like, right on the tarmac when I made the delivery. And I was right next to some planes that were there, and they're refurbishing some Southwest airplane. And these seats were needed. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird that I'm delivering seats from Canada. But, okay, here you go.
Oh, that's pretty cool. You got to go on the tarmac, too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was a interesting thing. It's just that it took all the skill I had to get in and out of that place because it was really tight.
That's what I always say, the white knuckling moments. When you get into those tight spots, you're like, how did I get in here?
Oh, yeah. It's like, okay, now I'm in. How do I get out?
Yeah. You're like, okay, so one part's done. Now the hard part is, how do I get out of here?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what is the story? And I'm not quite sure about the AH-64 that kept following you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. I was running from Laredo, Texas. I picked up a load out of Laredo, and I had one drop in Georgia, and then I had to take the rest of the load up to Canada. And I was running along I-10, and I noticed this AH-64 Apache helicopter. I'd seen it a couple of times, and I didn't really think anything of it because there's a base around there. And I'm driving, and all of a sudden I hear on the CB, hey, sell it on. I think that helicopter likes you. And I started looking around, and sure enough, there's this helicopter again. And he was popping up around trees, looking at me, then popping back down and taking off, and then he'd come up in another spot. And this went on for like half an hour. I was like, what is going on? And it didn't hit me. My truck has a giant maple leaf on the roof of it. I'm betting they're using me as the target to follow while they train. And for 30 minutes, I kept seeing this helicopter pop up, disappear, pop up in another spot, disappear. And I was like, okay, yep, Canadian friendly. We're on the same side. Please don't shoot me.
That is so crazy. Oh my gosh. I would be a nervous wreck.
Yeah,
some of the stuff.
That of me.
Yeah, well, I was just like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like, I didn't do anything. Then I was wondering, what do I have on this trailer?
That's crazy. Well, John, thank you so much for being a guest with us tonight. I want to remind everybody that coming up next, we have Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Bates. So if you're a big sports fan, be sure that you stick around and stay tuned for that show coming up next. And don't forget that you can catch Larry and I on Married to the Road on Facebook. And you can also find us live streaming on the Trucker's View. So when do you head back to Canada, John?
I've got to pick up 5 skids tomorrow in Lewis. No, where am I going? I forgot now. Somewhere outside of Tyler, Texas. I'm picking up 5 skids, and that should fill me up, and then I get to head home. So I should be home Friday night, Saturday morning.
That's awesome. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing. It's always nice to talk to truckers who are from Canada because I know things are so much different in Canada than they are here. So it's always great to give our listeners an opportunity to kind of get to know how trucking is different. So thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight, John.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really had a fun time.
Thank you very much, John. Be safe out there, everybody. Be safe out there.
And don't forget.
Yeah, you guys be good.
Yeah, and don't forget to catch Larry and I. We'll be right back here next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central for Taillights with the Baums. We'll see y'all next week. All next week.